All right. Oh, this is gonna be a slapper.
Can you hear everything in your headphones? Cool.
I can hear you guys.
Yeah, we got the new bit of a new setup here. We haven't had headphones before for the pod.
We wore them last time.
Yeah, I mean this is the second one with them, but we never really talked about it. Got the whole this thing going on. We're managing it ourselves right now.
In the trenches, man.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 20, the Associates Podcast. We've got a very special guest today. He is the epitome of top 1% man. And one of the greatest internet or Instagram marketers on the planet. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Guys, that's quite an intro there. So you guys got to live up to the hype of this show. Yeah. Excited to be on, guys.
Excited to have you here. Actually, I think we saw it on Twitter the other day. You're like, yeah, I'm going to be in Miami, whatever. Someone tagged Logan. And then I texted you. And we had a great conversation the other night over cigars. And I was a little worried that conversation was going to take away from this, which was actually being filmed. You know, it's all for the content at the end of the day.
Facts.
But what brings you to Miami, dude? What are you here for?
Yeah, so I was here for a mastermind. I was keynoting at one of my mentors' masterminds, basically just talking about, some of the things we've been doing. And then I love coming out here. I'm coming out every quarter, mainly to network. Like it's such a different vibe as, where I'm usually at. So yeah, just coming out here, network, speak, close some deals, and business as usual.
Business, and I think it's interesting thing to kind of talk about. Tell the audience where you're from.
Yeah, so my name's Jeremy. I'm from Switzerland. I came to America a while ago. I was here for 6 years, played D1 tennis, kind of fell in love with the whole American way of living and the whole entrepreneurship fact. Now frequenting coming back to cigars with you guys.
It's a good, probably top 3 things to do in America.
I feel like
Grab
we have a lot of, I wouldn't say history, but like from the same space,
Yep.
right? And you knew my previous business partner, or you still know him better, but you guys talked more along the way. What got you started? Because I always remember because we had our agency at the time, and I always remember seeing this Jeremy guy, and this Jeremy guy is like trying to sign these clients in our space, and like we had kind of like owned the space at that point to a degree, right? Not as much as we thought we did at the time. We were still super young. But what was that? What was this?
Nick thought he was the only one with that IP growth offer.
Well, right. We were super young, right? We didn't really like know any better. It was super in like that little like money Instagram theme page network. So how did you get started? How'd you get here?
So it's probably like senior year college. Realized that maybe going pro was a bit too fucking expensive.
How old are you?
I was like 21, 22 at the time. So I was like, trying to figure out ways like, so my dad has a business. He was very successful, but he was always like, hey, look, that's my money, not yours. Like, you go figure out your stuff. Yeah. And so at the time I was trying to treat my girlfriend right. And I was like, I gotta make some more money, man. And started looking different side hustles. And online I saw like this page, The Business Driven Dream. And I was like, yo, this guy's talking about like money. He must be super successful internet business owner. And then I realized like you can make money with these little pages. Felt like a freaking
Was that really the first page you saw?
Yeah, it was one of the first ones.
Interesting.
You get your money right. So and so basically I was like starting to look at this. So I tried it out. Like in between practices, I would go and do that. And then I was like, yeah, I'm really shit at graphic design, but let me continue. Because it's like, I think one of these natural things, and I think, Logan, you can maybe attest to this, like when you're an athlete and you suck at something, you just have the natural urge to get really fucking good at it. 100%. Because it's just like, this is not common for me. So long story short, got into the space, was in it for like a year or two. And at the time, like all these webinars got big. And so I remember in practice, fucking recording play and trying to like run to practice because this unique webinar is otherwise going to disappear forever.
Was it? So you were trying to were you trying to spy on the webinar or you were trying to learn from it?
I was trying to learn from it because I thought it was a great business opportunity. But yeah, long story short, realized that, these guys were selling these courses quite clearly. They're not on Instagram. Okay. Then I saw like this one person doing it. So I was like, hey, let me do the same shit.
Gotcha.
That's super interesting to me because and Nick knows this, but when I was so I dropped out after my 3rd semester, and during that time, like I was a little banged up with football stuff, whatever. and I actually found like probably a couple of his page. Like I've followed a couple of his pages since then because I started like I started auditing all the shit I was just like taking into my brain and unfollowing all the just like like bimbo IG girls or whatever the fuck I was looking at. And I started looking at like all this stuff I was learning. A lot of it was like very schizo IG pages, like conspiracy, whatever, fucking Rothschild page. But then I found like the money niche, and I'm pretty sure I followed a few of your
You
pages.
did, yeah. I think you still do.
Yeah. Well, I still have a couple of them, I'm sure.
I've seen it.
Mainly because I like to see the ads on them. But yeah, I've been following some of those pages.
I got burner accounts to see the ads.
Cool, man. Sick, bro. But yeah, it's just funny because I kind of got into a lot of it the same way. And then you start getting hit with the retarget or the ad funnels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world.
I see this tweet from you sometimes, or maybe video or story. You refunded your first client or whatever. What's the first client story? Like, how'd you go from looking at webinars at practice and stuff and like the graphic design and like the page? And I think I helped grow the original page at a certain point. We changed the name or something, but how did you go from that to signing that first client and then refunding them and then being where you're at now? Like, what was that change?
So at first, it was this whole dream of like, oh, SMMA, right? Like the Iman Gadzis, the Sam Ovens. And then
Ty Lopez.
first client I signed was this guy doing e-com. So this is really the first IG agency client. So this guy doing e-com. I was super hyped. And I was like, yeah, man, like, we in this shit. Then I was like, ah, goddamn, you gotta run ads now. Like, I never done this shit. The fuck? So for like 3 days, I didn't touch anything. I was just like looking at it. I was like, yeah, I need to write ads. And I was like, And so then at the time, one of your guys' clients was running this ad that was printing quite clearly because you guys were flexing about it. So I was like, oh, I got inspired by this. And so, they didn't know any better. I pretty much ripped off the entire ad. And so at the time, like I was like doing that, it worked. And like, they got a sale. But then after that, I had like you or like your former business partner, Gabe, reach out and were like, yo, you're ripping off our ads.
It was my former business partner. And then I had a weird connotation with you and your name because I was like, oh, he's ripping off our ads. But I had never talked to you, right? He had talked to you. And then he became like friends with you. And I was still had this connotation of this guy steals our ads. Like, fuck this guy. Who is this guy, right?
So at the time, I was looked at and I was like, oh my God, like I wasn't aware of it because I was not trying to go be a dickhead just like some of these other guys out there today. But at the time, I was like, oh shit, I really fucked up. So then for like the next week, I would just like, because I was working with someone who was like based in India, I would just like, don't do it. And I was just like, yeah, dog, like this is not going to go work out. Because obviously the client would be like, why are we posting these generic things? And like, just everything wasn't working. And I was like, yo, I have no clue what the fuck I'm actually doing. I know this little thing that I'm pitching, I can sell it and I can market it. But like the actual fulfillment, I had no fucking idea. So then long story short, my PayPal got frozen regardless. So like I was like, actually, let me just go and refund you the money before he like won something, and then I'm gonna get into deep shit. So I just kind of refunded him, and then kind of was depressed for like a week or two.
I mean, that's pretty like sweet though. I feel like there's a lot of
You just jumped into it.
I mean, there's a lot of kids out there now that would take that money and be like, oh, sorry, man. They wouldn't issue the refund. Like that's a super positive in my opinion.
But I think it comes down to like how you go and do business. Like for me, the biggest thing was always like the better you treat people, the better they'll treat you back. And like I didn't get into the intention of like, oh, I want to get rich. And I was just like, yo, I want to make some money online. So like, I could go take my girlfriend on holiday, or like I can go eat nice food. Because like I kind of grew up around some of that stuff, which like is probably very anti what you usually see. But I was just kind of like, yo, I want to do this, but like for myself. Such for like the whole inheritance aspect was very gay to me. And so after that, it was kind of like this, yeah, what am I going to do next? And I feel like, yeah, you approach people with the right intention, it just comes back a tenfold.
And so that was, what year was that?
That was 20, I think that was 2019 maybe?
Was it?
2019 or like 2020.
I think it was 2020. Because we signed our first client near the end of 2019.
That was 2020, near when the amazing flu came by. It's the best thing ever, to be honest with you guys. Like, truth be told, like, let's be honest, besides the whole fact that it was horrible for humanity and all that jazz,
it's really good for our space.
I would say in general, if you have goals that you want to go achieve, and you actually go and dedicate yourself to it, like, this period, as horrible as it was the best episode ever because you just be inside. You have
but
access
we
to
were
the
gonna do it
internet.
regardless.
Oh,
We
100%.
were all gonna do it
100%.
regardless.
But even if you're serious about it and you're like, I just want to do something, you don't know what you're gonna do. You had such a long time and chance to go and figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely was a big opportunity.
It's a net positive for the people that took advantage of it.
100%.
But for society at large and
so
as a
net
whole,
negative.
it's awful, terrible, awful.
100%.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's all like at the time. So at the time I was coaching. I was doing my MBA. I was like, oh yeah, I just secured a Facebook internship.
Coaching tennis?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I secured an internship at like at a big company. I was like, yeah, I'm super happy about this. Mainly because I was coaching tennis to one of the board members. And then basically that got whacked. I went back home and it was great because I was just like, oh, now I'm here. I have food on the table.
Switzerland?
Yeah, so I was back in Switzerland with my dad. Just like, yeah, for 14 hours a day, I can just sit on my laptop and work. It's great.
Did you think it was a hoax?
At the moment, no.
Really?
But then I think also just because like you didn't really question anything at my age. Like at my age, I didn't question shit. But then over time, I started to be like, man, okay, so people on private planes, they need to cover anything, but I need to. Like this is weird.
Yeah.
And then over time, you start to like kind of unravel it a bit. I always felt like I was very middle ground. That I wasn't like, okay, you need to get 20 needles, and I wasn't either like, oh, this is all this is all a big scam. For me, it was just like I tried to stay neutral at it, but then over time I was kind of like, I'm kind of starting to lean to the other side a bit.
I'm not neutral. That was a scam, bro. Completely.
I believed in it for about 2 weeks.
Same. And then I was like, I don't think so.
At that time, I was living in Boca, and I was on like a super kick. Like work was starting to go really well for me. I was like a COO of an agency then, and like the Twitter shit's starting to pop. I'm just doing that for fun basically, and so I would go down. It's like spring break. I would go down to Lauderdale like 2 to 3 times a week, like Tuesday or Wednesday night. Go down with the spring break kids, and then they took it all from me.
That was when
And they closed the beach. That's when I knew it was. That's when it
See
hit
in
critical
Switzerland,
mass.
you couldn't really go and see it because they actually like in America they're so extreme with this bullshit. Like in Switzerland, it was a bit more normal. You can go to the grocery store, you can do whatever. You know, like outdoor fields are open and stuff. Like they wouldn't be so militant about it. But then when I came back here, like to California, and they're like outside, we were playing
California.
tennis. They're like, yo, I was coaching for like 4 hours straight in like 90 degrees. They're like, yeah, you need to put a mask on. It's like, oh, there's nobody around me 20 meters. What are you talking about? So it's just one of that's it when it kind of kicked in for me. But yeah.
it's interesting that you finished school. And did you ever have any like entrepreneurial I'm gonna do this internet stuff before that? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like it.
So I went super traditional. My mom has like a very high paying job. She probably makes more money than most of these kids on money Twitter.
Fair.
My dad started super blue collar. Grew up poor. Started his own business. Super like kind of successful. And so I was almost like, oh, you're going through school in Switzerland. Everything's super like high standard. Like we're talking like California middle upper class. Like it's like poverty in Switzerland. And so it's like you kind of grow up decent. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go to school.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to
Sounds a little bit
university.
more than decent.
Yeah, it's these like it's okay. Like, but basically, long story short, I was like, yeah, going to school. I was huge into tennis. I wanted to be a tennis pro. So like college seemed like the best option. College in of itself was the biggest waste of time. Like genuinely speaking, it was the greatest thing and the worst thing at the same time because our high school was more difficult than my MBA classes. But college was the greatest thing that I've ever done because of the tennis aspect. I would say, because I didn't have to pay for it, I had like a scholarship. If you get to be a D1 athlete at like a sports school with like a ride where you don't need to pay much, it is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Everyone's kissing your ass. You know, it's very easy on like the social side of things. And so, yeah, I always wanted to do something because I realized I wasn't very like, do this and I'll go next.
Did you feel it was a waste of time when you were there? Or did you realize that after?
Realized it afterwards. I think time was great. Like you play like if you're a sports nut and you want to be pro, you get to train for 6 hours a day. You have like free food. You have like your social circle. It's great. But then looking back, I was like, you see that these 22-year-olds doing the same stuff as us, making like, oh fuck. At the time, I was such a moron. I could have made so much more money. So I look at that.
That's kind of how I was. Like when you're when you're playing sports, you don't really like it's an interesting parallel into like entrepreneurship because you don't like I feel like so many people are driven to start being an entrepreneur because of some kind of like pain or insecurity or like negative feed into their ego. And when you have sports, like you just don't really like there's so many people that are athletes that could be talented entrepreneurs or go do something really cool, but they're just like their life's like pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
They don't need to because like I feel like you see it a lot um, with like bigger athletes, like guys who play at like really big schools, but they're not going to go be a first round draft pick, but they're like a pretty good player at UF, right, or like University of Miami. You know what I mean? They're not going to get drafted, but they're still like good players. Like there's so many people like that could have like a crazy brand or a crazy thing, but they
Because they're
don't.
hard workers.
Yeah, because they're hard workers, they're smart, they're super talented. Like it really does transfer over, but they won't because they're so, like their life is just too objectively good.
Yeah, but also you don't think about it because
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
this whole focus on like for us it was like winning a championship, right? We won the first championship of our school in like the tennis thingy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like you just focus on this, and then over time you're like, oh shit, wait, I'm graduating in a month, like I'm poor as shit,
Yeah.
like what am I going to go do? Then you start thinking about it, but I think also it's this whole self improvement, right? You don't really go. I didn't really go play tennis like I want to be a multimillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like, yo, I want to be good. I want these accomplishments. And then once you kind of don't do sports, you're like, oh, accomplishments could also be money.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get rich as shit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that comparative that really was cool on the sports side of things.
I want to talk a little bit more about the agency and go a little bit deeper in the Instagram stuff.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about business partners, why you and your business partner work so well together. Yeah, like tell me about the agency and how it grew. And I know pretty sure there was one client that you guys signed that like changed the entire game for you. So what kind of sauce can you drop on that?
So I started the agency. The biggest reason I feel our agency is successful, determine that for yourself, is because I have a really amazing business partner. The whole way it happened was I outbounded him. It's like, hey man, I want to buy some ads because it really pop and paid. I mean,
Yeah,
that.
I know what it is.
I kept messaging him. I was like basically harassing him at this point. And so he sold me an ad. We started chatting. He pretty much was giving me some free games because I was really bad at like growing the pages. Off of that, long story short, I scored a second client because I realized I could still not fulfill. So I offered him, hey, can I pay you 50% and you do the ads? Did a really good job. Long story short, we're like, hey, let's start this agency together. And from there, he also had like a sports background. So we had like a similar background in a sense, but like from a personality standpoint, we were the exact opposites. So like he would go and say he wouldn't like to go and be out and about, like, go to all these dinners and like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He would prefer to like just sit, work. He pays like attention to extremely close detail. I'm just kind of like out and about, like, oh, this idea could work, that could work, like, and then he just kind of can take my ideas or like use my creativity in a sense as inspiration for the actual shit.
So you say he's an amazing. You found a really amazing business partner, but don't you think it's like the meshing of your personality that actually makes it work, or the
100%.
meshing of your skills? that actually
100%.
makes it
So
work?
we had the reason it worked at the beginning is because we had opposite skills. He was really bad at sales. Still love you, but like besides the point, like he was really bad at sales, and I was really decent compared to him at sales, right? And he was really good at copywriting. I was really bad at it. So it was like this whole like I'll handle line communication and I'll do the sales aspect. You kind of take point in the fulfillment.
Yeah.
I think that, and then personality wise, we were very similar in terms of yes, he's introvert, I'm extrovert, but we both were like, okay, we're gonna keep it real with each other, meaning that like when we disagree, like we'll go and argue and like not be little bitches, but we'll shout at each other and we'll cuss each other out. And I'm sure you guys do that too.
It's super funny.
Our dynamic is literally the exact same. Like Nick is super like just cracked out, like execution.
About certain things though, certain things I'm not.
Organization, and then I'm just like creative all over the place, like just coming up with ridiculous stuff. But yeah, we also like our culture is brutal. Like we'll just roast each other all day long. It's awesome.
He'll make my process more efficient because he wants to get it done like the fastest way like possible, if that makes sense.
It's literally
not cut corners, but like just well, why don't we do it this way? And then this could be, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, we need to do it in a complete manner, and then it kind of like meshes in a certain way. And then for him, he'll just be all. And I'm pretty like I have big ideas too, but I'll think them through typically before I kind of like place them out. Logan will just start saying things and just texting me things and calling me about certain things. Like last night, he was calling me about the certain Chat GPT thing, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's good. We'll talk about it tomorrow. It's just like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm ready to go to bed. And I kind of like bring those big ideas back to something that has like a good foundation and can be executed on. It can be a reality.
It sounds very similar. Like I'm the exact same. I would just like watch a TikTok before going to sleep, and I would just go like paste it and be like, do this for whichever client.
Yeah.
This, and I'll just like turn my phone off.
Yeah.
I'll just get like wake up like 5 questions more. Like what the fuck
Yeah.
do you mean?
We need to implement this immediately. How can we model this like right now?
But it's the same with like one of our first team members that we got. Like we would just grill him. Like he was like, hey, I wanna make a full-time income off of this, and I want to make a lot of money. Okay, cool. Whatever. He working really hard, but then over time when he was like into copyright, we just grilled him. We'd be grilling each other and all that stuff, and it just helps because it's like you don't fucking faff around and like waste each other's fucking time.
Yep.
Like, oh, sorry for stepping on your toes.
Yeah.
Like, no, look, I give a fuck.
Yeah.
If you're pissing me off,
100%.
if you're
So-
pissing me off,
sometimes-
shut up. And then we just fucking roll from there until it's solved.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll kind of like we'll say the same thing, but it like will come out a little bit different, and then we'll argue about like the other day we were arguing about the definition of a word, and he was saying it one way and I was saying it just a different way, but we were saying the exact same thing and actually agreeing. So then we like cooled off, we came back, and he's like, yeah, like I really meant this, and I'm like, dude, exactly, like 100%.
Typically, what always is Nick's tripping and I'm
Nah.
right. Like,
That ain't it.
most of the time. But it's funny. It carries into our team culture too. Like we roast the team. Nobody's
There's
safe.
no filter
Yeah.
as well.
It's just extremely blunt.
Sales team has to meet certain KPIs. Like all of them got to go on dates. Looking at one of our sales guys back here, he's got to pick it up. Dates, like exercise, different cultural things like that. Like music, sharing memes, etc. It's a requirement every week, and if it doesn't happen, it's like, hey, end of the week call. Where's your stuff, Alloy? What's going on? Did you go on that date this week? Did you see that pretty girl? And if not, like, why? Why aren't you hitting KPI? And I think that is additionally something that kind of keeps us a little bit different and a little bit together.
100%. You got to be unique in a sense. We're very unique in terms of like we don't have work hours. We just have you wake up and you go to sleep. The middle part is work. Like, and that's what I like every single person that we have in we don't have little bitches. Like I've never hit someone who's like, I'm burnt out. We have sometimes we're like, my business partner comes like, hey man, I think like the guys are a bit like tired and stuff because he works with them really closely, but they'll never go and bitch. Like not because we're like, yeah, fuck you, you're a little bitch if you complain. No, but it's just like I think they see how we work and how we operate, and they kind of emulate that, which has been so beneficial to grow.
How big is the team now?
So we have three copywriter, media buyer, which is the cousin of my business partner, which is like biggest hack. I mean, you have also a family member in the business, right?
Yep.
And then we have one little video editor. That's pretty much it. Keeping it lean, small.
One little video. Are they physically little?
Yeah. So he's there in the Philippines.
Oh.
Little puppy.
Video puppy. That's dope, man. We have a bunch of like we're putting some people on trial now, but like I would say
We have 7 content marketers on trial that basically do copy.
end of this week we'll have 11 employees now. I think. Does that sound right?
No, like 8. Well, if you count VAs, then probably 11.
Yeah, I count
virtual
I'm
assistants.
part of the team.
Yeah, love
They
those
gotta
guys.
go on dates too.
Well, they're editing this. I love them.
No, the dates thing is mainly a sales guy,
Yeah.
which is super
close
real.
to it.
Like, if you can't, how are you gonna push product if you can't push product? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's totally fair.
It's the same skill set.
We were talking about Cardone the other night. Now Cardone has his guys do a training every morning, do like a review every morning, and they have to watch a certain amount of stuff, or they can't key card into the building.
No, this is next.
And
Like,
and then they have to do 200 outbound after that, which is crazy. And obviously, in my head, this is unconfirmed, right? Because I'm not hearing it directly from Cardone or someone that works there. Maybe you did. I'm hearing it from you, right? So we'll take it with a grain of salt. But no, where did you find that out? And I'm curious, like, have you implemented anything like that?
yeah, so I was at this mastermind where one of Grant Cardone's former best performing sales reps, Jordan Stupar, was talking.
Yeah.
And he was basically breaking down like how, he was transitioning and he was giving some speech, or actually it was Jeremy Haynes himself who was talking because he was working at Grant Cardone's office. And he's basically just talking about like how, crazy they train. And it's just like, you look at it and it's just like, you always trying to implement, how can I do this for myself? Mm-hmm. And we're just sitting there and it's like, shit. Like all they're basically doing is they're just shortening down the time frame, right? They're just shortening down the time frame for like how you get better. But yeah, basically like all he's doing is like, if you do 10 push-ups a day, mm-hmm. what's going to go and happen? Well, you're going to go get a little bit stronger. Yeah. But if you go and do 100 push-ups a day, well, you're going to get stronger a lot faster. Like, obviously there's it's pops, but it's basically the same thing. If you take if you do 100 outbound calls a day and it takes 1,000 to kind of get rid of it, mm-hmm. well, it's going to take you 10 days. Whereas if you do 200 days, it's going to take you 5 days. So like the span is shorter. And so what we're implementing is basically like, if you're in our team, you're a copywriter, you better submit 5 tweets a day that you think are really good and like fall into a certain
ones that they write or just ones that they find
on Twitter. So it's kind of like building a swipe file. Yep. Then the second one is like find 3 to 5 reels that are like very good. Again, fit specific metrics because I don't want to see 500 Tate clips. Like, how is that going to be helpful for us, right? And then basically go and break down as well why it's going. Because one, it's training, again, refining for yourself what is good, what is bad copy, what is a good reel, what's a bad reel. So it just trains you internally. And then we'll go and do reviews every time when they create a reel. I'll go and review it, and I'm like very direct because I'm like, that's the best way to go and learn. And then we're doing that, and then I'm pretty much just shouting at every client sales rep at this point. I'm just like, except for one client who like we were with this just now because I've dialed in. I'm shouting at everyone like, yo, why are the close rates low? Like, how are you guys trading? We're looking at some calls sometimes. Like, yo, dog. Like, if you want to make real money, you want to go make management money, you got to go fucking train. And so we're just trying to implement it really bad. Because, again, it's this whole, like, aggressively taking action, aggressively actually forcing yourself to be great.
It's something that I've been doing with our hiring process. Basically, the last 2 weeks, I've just been focusing on our hiring process, our back end, our product, etc. And the biggest thing is like onboarding. How are we training these guys? How are we actually measuring what they're doing? Okay, what's the next step once we pick the person that is the fit for getting them actually up to our level or close to it as possible, right? How are they going to actually progress? What's their probation period? What's the onboarding look like? What is the exact step by step? And it's very important because it's really turning, and at the agency, we can go back and talk about that a little bit, but I feel like I didn't have a full handle on everything, and we talked about this the other night. I feel like I didn't have a full handle on everything because I wasn't able to like really look into fulfillment as much because it's just disagreements or just miscommunication between myself and my business partner. But with this, it's us going from an operation that we're day to day in to an operation that we oversee, and those training aspects are just the absolute most important of it, and the measurement aspects.
Yeah, it is, and that's something we're working on at the same time. I've just noticed as well as clients, team members, the onboarding is so overlooked because I've looked at the data. The best clients have had the best onboarding so far. Those who half-assed the onboarding and we didn't call them out in it didn't work out.
Onboarding and like that first week or two.
Yeah.
They kind of like go through the process the first week or two and like actually see something. Could be super small, but they see something tangible after that first initial like stuff that they submit or whatever on the onboarding, and they get it like a result. I've seen those people they kind of click almost for a lot longer.
For us to usually just wake up and have an extra 2,000 followers, and that's the trick for them. Like, I'm not gonna lie and act like we have some shiny object.
100%.
They just wake up and either we're like, hey man, the ad kind of went viral, or we're like, hey man, we tested an ad, here's how it's going. But yeah, it's kind of keeping them in the loop, right? And kind of, it's called red pill marketing, where like you basically go and you consistently sell them on it. Like the moment they purchase from you, right? The onboarding, those small little ones, like, oh, it was the right decision I made. I need to go continue to double down on it. Oh, the first post went live. Oh, that's pretty good. First ad went live. Like you continuously sell yourself on it, because at that point, if the client is sold on it, they'll go and take the action that they need
And
to
the
go
faster it happens, is just the better it is.
Facts.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that like the whole thing for me is that speed of like how you can eliminate the friction, because as soon as it's so weird, like as soon as you get that, it's just an immediate win. And I was super excited when we were gonna have you on, because I feel like there's in the content game, like everybody, there's so many people in it now, it's like everybody and their brother. And I was super excited because I just feel like, I see your ads now, or like he'd be like, oh, Jeremy works with this guy, whatever. And I'll see it. And like, I just feel like there's very few people who really, really actually understand content and the layers to it. And I would love to hear like your take on that, or how you kind of curated it, and what that looks like for you. Like, how do you think about content qualitatively now?
So
From somebody who is, and we don't have to talk about numbers, but I mean,
no, for sure.
like you have tons of clients with
For sure, we have clients doing.
millions of followers at this point,
Yeah.
right? Or no?
Not millions, but like, yeah, but we've grown like what, 2.5 million for clients past like 2 years. So yeah, but how we think about it is like, it's very like, and Nick, you know this obviously, like from experience, but it's very like curated, right? I think the core of it is personality. If like so many of these dorks are like fucking putting out this generic ass content, like, oh yeah, seven truths that you should face, and it's just, it doesn't have this like, oh, someone with actual life experience is gonna go and put that out, like,
Oh, I can name so many people doing that.
No, I'm joking.
It's a former client.
No, but besides the point, you got that out. Thanks. So basically, it's too generic. Whereas for us, like personality driven, what Hormozy talks about. What I did, 7 things I faced that helped me achieve X result. I'm trying to make it very like tangible. We're like, I don't want clients to, like, I don't want people to go and follow clients or engage with posts because of like the cute little picture or whatever. I want them to follow because, like, yo, that's an interesting person. Dude, how did this little idiot make money? We just had the client launch. He's absolutely ripping. He's like up 35K followers in like 10 days. And all we did is we basically hopped in the comment like, hey man, look, we're going to make you look a bit like a dummy, because people will go and have the superiority complex and think that they're better than you. And it's absolutely ripping. Because everyone's like, yo, how did this skinny dude go make $1 million a year removing people's junk? What the fuck? And so they're like checking out the profile, almost like to hate or confirm their bias that they're better than him. And they're like, well, next thing they know, they're sending him like a 6K Stripe payment.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where like, it's one, deeply rooted in psychology, which you've written about a lot, and two, just like adding a bunch of like personality, and then you package that in a way where it has mass appeal. And for you to be able to have mass appeal, you got to study what's currently going viral.
I think another way to say that personality angle is like a unique factor. What makes you, there's hundreds of lead gen, thousands of lead gen marketers, but what makes you the lead gen marketer that people should listen to, right?
Exactly.
There's tons of content guys, but what makes you the content guy that people should listen to?
Our content actually performs.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's really interesting because like I didn't like care so much about that. Like when I dropped out, I was just personally training basically, and then started getting into all the internet marketing stuff, mainly like seeing all this kind of like guru shit, ads, different funnels, same thing you mentioned, like the webinar, the theme pages, whatever, and took all of that and like learned it, but then really reverse engineered it, how the natural cadence of how I just like I knew all that stuff kind of, but then I actually learned it by putting it into practice for my own stuff, just like kind of having fun
For the fitness stuff.
Yeah, and then was able to like really reverse engineer it, and then kind of get that. It's like it's the bell curve meme, It was like I was doing it right at first,
Yeah.
just naturally, just like how my own personality would function, and I think that a lot of people really miss that. Like when we work with people, I always encourage them too to like. I feel like so many people in content, they put the effort on like the tactic, the hack, the distribution
They
versus
don't
just like,
monetize autism enough.
yeah, they don't weaponize autism at all. You know, it's
Facts.
it's like,
But again, it what makes you special. There's been a handful of times where like I'm looking at you, like I'm just brainstorming. I'm like, oh my god, this is a banger for Logan. Like, yo, he adds some form of autism in there. Like, yo, that's gonna rip. But it's again because you've established yourself as like using this like weird glossary or like dictionary of like new words, right? Where like I think again with your email list, people go and read that shit because they're like, yo, what words is he gonna use? I mean, that's my motive at least. And then two, like, what weird spin is he putting on it?
yeah.
And like half the times I'm reading it's like, yo, this is just pure entertainment. And I think a bunch of normies, they're gonna be like, this is pure entertainment. Oh, there's a link. And then like next thing you know, they're like on a sales call.
Yeah.
Like not knowing what happened. And I feel that unique flair is what a lot of people miss.
Yeah. I think
And you know what's crazy? We've reverse engineered that, and now we have people writing that. And it's not always Logan.
That's pretty cool.
And that's what we do at Launch Socials.
So you should join Launch Socials.
facts. Send the check through.
Stop being poor. No, but on a serious note, like not having a personal brand, unless you're like some 10, 50, 20 mil a year dude, is generally the dumbest thing you can do, especially if you're an online marketer. Like
100%.
when you go and look, when you really look at it, like Tesla, freaking, all the big companies, like Amazon, they're all built on like freaking personal brands. Like the reason that Elon can go out and be like, yeah, guys, so we're just gonna we're gonna do this, and Tesla's gonna stock is plummeted at this rate, and everything comes through his personal brand. Like,
It's really amazing to me that, I mean, there's basically no, even if you're doing, like, let's say, like, I just don't understand how people possibly do the mental gymnastics where it's like, I can understand if you really just like, because I hate a lot of the culture now. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so fake and weird and just gay and just everything's just pretty stupid. Most like so many people are so stupid and a lot of it's very scammy, whatever. Like I personally don't like it. But even that being said, number one, if that's your take, you have the ability to fix it by being like, you could just be that counterbalance of a voice in the world. And also like, even if you're not an internet marketer, like any venture that you have is just going to get extremely magnified by being online. Like people will be like, the internet's not real life. Well, brother, we got people cashing out from it. So that's that money's pretty real, isn't it?
Dog, I'm gonna keep it real. We just were with one of our clients, and like, yo, that guy, he's like, since I have a personal brand, like, one, his like, relationship acquisition channel is absolutely popping because I see that shit coming through. But like, two, it's like, he the other day had people reaching out, being like, yo, man, can we talk about acquiring your companies? We're not talking about like selling your little mini SaaS or like your little coaching business for like, we're talking like 10, 50, 100 M's.
Yeah.
Other guy that we had, like that we parted ways with, he had like freaking NBA stars, football players reaching out. I was with that guy in person. He had a pro golfer send him through a 3 million wire check. Why? He's like, yeah, man, I saw this thread of you. And it really sunk in with me that like, I need to go and do this. And then I've been following you, man. And it looks like you're killing it. And it's like, hey, look, if you think you're too cool for school to kind of put out content, you're too cool to like go write a thread, unless you say it's like 5 non-negotiables in your 20s type of bullshit. Like at that point, enjoy making whatever you're making. But it's such a disadvantage not doing it.
In every capacity, like I've literally woken up in foreign countries, like 10-hour international flight, wake up the next day, and people know me there and want me to come do cool shit, like get invited to cool, like it's actually insane the access that it provides.
I mean, me being on the pod, right? I put out a tweet. Hey, in Miami, want to do some pod? Ping, ping, ping.
Mm-hmm. And you were going to text us anyway. We were going to talk about it. But how do we meet? We met because we were growing things on the internet. You kind of build a personal brand. You stay around. You chat, whatever. Or everyone comes to Miami, right? So anyone coming here that knows us is probably going to shoot us a text or something at a certain point. And if we want to see them, we can make the time to see them. Obviously, if we're busy, we don't. But the access, it's like it provides you access to just different things. If you slide in on a girl, you slide in on some dude you want to talk to for business purposes, you want to get somebody on a podcast, you got 50K followers, 100K followers, whatever, it's the social proof, the uniqueness, the whatever, you slide in, you're way more likely to get a response. Even if it's all fake. Even if that personal brand persona, you bought the followers, you bought the likes, whatever, even if it's fake,
Don't do it, guys.
don't do it. Don't enter any giveaways, whatever.
It's interesting. I actually, anytime I see any of the like fake stuff, I don't respond to them.
Right, but you can point it out.
Yeah,
Most
that's
people
true.
get duped by it. How are people sending money to fake accounts of us?
I have a great story.
I just don't get it.
The other day I go cut my hair, and my barber's like, he's total G. He's like, "Hey man, are you big into crypto?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "But you messaged me about like getting into crypto." So I'm like, "What?" No. So there's a fake account impersonating me, hitting him up. It's like, "Hey man, do you want to get into crypto?" And like just hammering him about crypto, and like he's like messaging him in German, and this page like, "No, speak English to me." And like it's so obvious, but for him, he was even like, "But this is Jeremy," like, he wasn't aware of that stuff. And so like probably to the average person who's maybe a bit dumb, especially here, like they'll probably fall for it.
Especially here, what does that mean?
Yeah, we had one of our he actually joined our program, but one of my crypto farm things scammed him for like $500. Because one of my other friends followed that page.
Yeah, people like will
And
follow
saw
it.
the social proof of him following that page and got hit with it. It's crazy, man. Instagram's a wild place now.
I'm starting to see him on Twitter here and there, but it's not anywhere close to Instagram's bad.
Yeah.
We have a guy that we pay pretty much almost payroll monthly just to remove accounts.
Champagne problem, man. Fuck. So where do you think IG's going, or like what's your take on the whole space moving forward?
I think the biggest misconception people have, like IG is going down. IG is just going to scale up. Like TikTok is, in my eyes, the fucking dumbest platform ever if you're an online marketer. Like, yeah, sure, maybe paid ads and stuff. If you like doing that shit, that's cool. But like, it's just an awareness platform. I mean, we spoke about this last time.
About it, yeah.
It's awareness based. You post TikToks, you get awareness. You funnel into
TikTok is a shitty platform for selling organic or selling high ticket like we sell.
Yeah.
Right? I think that context is important. Like I think an e-com product can go and do well there.
Beautiful.
Right? But if you're selling organic, info, higher ticket, maybe $1,000 or more, which isn't really high ticket, but if you're in that range, it's a super shitty platform to sell on. I think Instagram, YouTube, Twitter's where you want to be, but TikTok is that, like, in my opinion, at least, it's like a good high level awareness thing. Maybe if you're selling like a group for like $20 a month or something, you can push it hard there. We obviously saw Tate with Hustlers University go crazy, but overall TikTok is,
Or guys like Mason.
yeah. But
crushing it.
TikTok overall is dog shit for selling higher tickets.
It's not, you cannot connect to the audience enough. On Instagram, you can go and like DM someone, and like people are dumb, so naturally they'll go be like, "Oh, this person responded to me." Whereas like freaking some setter out there in like Pakistan, like
Or
commission, like they're just thinking about it this way,
or like Grant Cardone responded to my comment
Yes.
or something like that, and it's literally just a VA just going through and just giving him a heart and saying thank you so much for engaging and stuff like that.
But it's great because as a marketer, when you go into that, you're like, "Oh, bet I'm gonna get big in this community building." Like there's so many guys that print money because it's like you can see the stories, you can react to it, you see really like it's like a vlog type of platform where it's like reality TV almost, and that and people love that shit. So it's
about
easy.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can relate more to your audience.
Yeah.
I mean, people live on Instagram to a degree. People talk on Instagram. People just go on Instagram and talk to their friends and send them memes and stuff like that. And your content happens to pop up, and then you catch them in the loop, and you get them in your reels, and they're scrolling your stuff, and that's the goal at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like I agree. I used to think, because obviously I'm more of like a Twitter guy, mainly just because all the people there are a little bit more up my alley. It's a little rough around the edges. I'm a little rough around the edges, and so I used to think that was more intimate. But now, especially after just getting deeper into the more the IG stuff and seeing it, like it's definitely the best platform if you want to build a business off of your audience and build. It's really interesting though, because I think like everything we talked about it the other night as well, like it's just all moving towards this like clickbaitification. All the platforms are. I almost think you kind of have to do every platform at this point. Like
What I will say about
it's
IG
the game.
Before you go into that, in terms of every platform, it's kind of on that note. I think the strongest Instagram audiences are the people that build their audience on TikTok, on YouTube, on other platforms, and it transfers over because they're almost like a celebrity in a way, and they have the audience, but they don't execute it on it the right way. If every person on Instagram that had an audience from YouTube executed on it like they were Jeremy's client, they would print the fattest bags of cash ever. I look at Graham Stephan as the perfect example. Doesn't do anything with his Instagram, but has all this social proof from YouTube. But if he ran his Instagram like he was trying to sell on Instagram, he's making incredible amounts of money.
It's fair, but also it's so hard because like the people we're referencing, they've been around for years, right?
Sure.
Most people trying to get into it. I really think YouTube is a cool play, especially with the short.
Trying to get into a different story.
Exactly. Trying to get into it. Go on freaking TikTok for awareness, then like Twitter for like the community networking and all that jazz, and then freaking Instagram where you actually go and like you build your audience, you become that like celebrity thing, and you secure the bag. And then YouTube you just build along the side, and eventually once you go and pop off there, then you can go and be.
I like YouTube for like those long form takes, like this podcast. This is a long form, take. We can clip stuff from this, and then we can drop it over on these other platforms, and it acts as content on the other platforms that goes out and brings us attention and followers back.
Facts. I think it's finding the balance. The problem is most people can't even do one thing. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna do like freaking YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everything, but then they're not gonna do one thing. So it's like you kind of got to do one thing properly.
One of our cameras went down.
We're talking about how gay the audience
is. Well, we see it with the podcast, and it's kind of we haven't seen it in a while because we haven't posted, we haven't recorded in a while. That's about to change. I think we're gonna try and do at least one a week, maybe 2 a week. But the audience there is super dumb. Like they do not understand what we are saying. Or maybe the clip cutter we had at the time was taking things out of context. Maybe that was, part of it. But I just think they hear one word in a video and they immediately just and they freak out and they go and comment and
well, it's interesting. Like
it's not what it's about at all.
It's uneducated across the board. Like we've seen it with clients too. Like we're getting 6 million views. People are just like, yeah, scam. And we have like one client, he's like a former cop. He's a G. He'll just go and call people poor in the comments. He'll just be like, yeah, see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. It's like saying shit like this. And like it just triggers people even more. And like, what are you guys going to hate on? Because like, he didn't give a fuck quite clearly. Like you saying that like, oh, an ATM only makes, well, $400. That's like, at least like, insurance, phone payments done. Would you say no to that? Like, you dumb? And it's kind of funny because like I think a lot of these people are like very unhappy, which is why they are scrolling. I'm not sure either of us are scrolling unless we're looking for content ideas.
That's typically what it is.
There you go.
Sometimes we'll get caught in a loop for sure. Not gonna lie.
I'll be scrolling, but it'll be like esoteric Atlantean Holy Grail trek journey.
Basically looking at chicks.
That too. Occasionally.
But yeah, like typically if I'm scrolling, it's like, what can we go and replicate today? What can we add to the repertoire?
And when we go and say replicate, because I think everyone's going to be an absolute moron, just going to copy word for word. Replicate means what framework actually works, what type of...
Why did this hook work?
Yeah, why did this hook work? Why did this like sound perform, right?
Did he do something specific with the background in this video?
Can I tweak something or take this whole text framework as like inspiration for like my business model, It's like, you can't go and hate. If somebody does an Airbnb day in the life, if you're a trader, go do a trader day in the life. That's pretty cool. But it's kind of like being, like obviously not just copying word for word.
Yeah, I think one thing, going back to like the TikTok audience, I think there's definitely, number one, definitely like Gen Z is just down bad for sure. Like just low T, low IQ, dopamine rat.
Or Gen Z, we're all right.
Just brain. Well, Gen Z is either there's like 10% of Gen Z that's just born to rule, and then there's the other 90% who's just like gone forever.
Born to be controlled.
Just the boys locked in the meta.
They're born to be.
But I think, and there's definitely like some clips that are out of context as well. But I also think too, it's really interesting to see like, And I think a lot of people, especially in that want to start like monetizing their content, I think that it's partially like that audience is just so like they want to see real shit. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people like will just be like, "Oh, the TikTokers are da 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 da," which they are for sure. But there's also a lot of people that are just like trying to continually like the game's changing a little bit. You can't have so hard of like a guru framing. Like people
It's the frame of which you approach it.
yeah,
You know,
like
it's like, oh, I'm gonna say this because it's gonna get views, rather than I'm gonna say this because it's a topic that I genuinely care about,
yeah.
and it's something that will help people. The frame is completely different.
Yeah.
It's really, I think most people there don't even understand the types of brands. For example, you have one client, he's like in the sales industry, and like he's been in sales for 17 years. He's made 33 million in commissions. So it's like for him, he is a mentor. He's actually done shit.
Yeah.
So like for him, he's gonna have the SME subject matter expert branding, which makes total sense, all value based. Because at the end of the day, if we go and talk to a dude who's done like 100 M's, we'd be like, yeah, you can be all guru you want. I'll fucking like still want to work with you, right?
Yeah.
But then like on the other ones, like we have one kid, he's like, he's not making the most money, but like he's done like, 15, 20K as a setter. So it's like that whole frame is going to be like, hey, I'm a kid who's making some money. I'm just documenting my life, sharing some value, what I'm learning.
Well, it's based in truth. because
Exactly.
People can see through the lies. People can see through the lies now. People are talking in the comments. People are, sharing things. There's so many examples of other competitors that they've probably seen if they're in the niche. They know that whether you're telling the truth or whether you're lying, you can see through it in a couple of videos.
Facts.
Yeah. And it's like our videos, I don't think that we have like incorrect positioning per se, but like a lot of times like we're just inflammatory because that's just how we are and we just don't fucking care.
But
We're
it's
gonna talk shit.
it's a hard one to distinguish because like so the other day at this mastermind, this one guy's coming up, he's a boxer, and everyone's like, how can I go and capture a nation? It's like, it's a cool question. Everyone's like, yeah, just talk about masculinity. And I was like, dog, if you just want to be canceled and you just want to be another fucking dick rider, yeah, go and do the Tate. It's kind of like, find your USP. If you're being inflammatory and you're doing it with like freaking Atlantean flow or whatever, that's totally cool. Yeah. Like find your USP, which we mentioned earlier, and then go talk about things you genuinely enjoy.
Yep.
Like I'm never gonna be like, here's how you grow 20,000 followers. 'Cause I think that shit's whack. But I'll happily go and talk about like sports, like athletics, like making money off of IG and shit like that. I think it's just like kind of actually being you.
You can talk about the how to grow 20,000 followers, but you do it in a frame that's like true to who you are, your persona, etc. You still do it, you just do it in a way that's different, like quality.
Yeah, so you can actually look in the mirror and be like, that shit's good.
Okay. I like it's cool if a girl sees me looking like this.
Oh, so I have this rule that I try to relate to clients. It's because this one guy, he's like freaking quoting Bible verses and like posting the weirdest shit ever. And so I was
You
like,
mentioned him earlier in the pod, right?
no, I didn't. But basically,
we cut it out.
But basically, long story short, it was just like, I was like, hey man, look, I know you're trying to date right now, right? And you're trying to, get into that whole world again. If you were trying to cold outbound a girl, would you actually like feel confident in like the product brand you're selling? Like same for me. My girlfriend, when I post something, she's like, yo, that was corny as shit. And like, she'll just go and roast me. Cause I was like, yeah, please tell me if I'm being corny. Because like, I want to go and look at it like if like in family gatherings they're pulling out my profile. I don't want to look like some dweeb. Like I don't want to look like that. And then I want to look like, oh, cool. And that has a direct correlation I've seen over time with how many sales you make.
Yeah. I was looking at this one guy the other day and I was like, oh my God, I cannot do that. I think you were looking at it with me. We got Noah, our head of sales behind the camera here.
What was it?
I don't know the name, but he's dressed all in red and all his branding is red.
Oh,
and
Rudy.
Mike sent Rudy Marr.
Rudy, that's
Oh
his
my
name.
God.
And the branding, Rudy, I never want you on the podcast. Don't DM me. You're weird. Branding, don't like it. Just based on that, we'll never do business together. But Rudy's just a weirdo, man. And it's just like, I don't know. Is that genuine to him? Or like, because to me, it seems completely fake. Like, you're just living for social media at that point. Something I can never do. I can't respect it. Don't want to talk to you, etc. And there's plenty of people I see doing that.
Bro, it's a lot of like a lot of the internet marketer dudes. I just
Well, it's just
It's calculating. It's calculating. Oh, people follow me for a religion? Well, guys, here's Christianity. You can make money. Well, if you are a Christian want to make money, DM me. It's like, it's too calculated.
Yeah.
It's too calculating. Like, in context what he said, there's a guy similar to Rudy in Germany who like got famous because he wore a red jacket. And everyone was like in the comments saying like, oh, he's like a pimp or whatever. And he looked and he was like, hey, I like red, and quite clearly this gets attention. So it kind of became a correlation, right? So I think some people they see stuff that they do or things that they say that go and like really, resonate with
You know what the
others, so just
problem
double
is?
down on
You know
it.
what the problem is? A lot of these guys in the internet space aren't actually people in real life.
Facts.
They don't have anything going on except for I make money online, and that's all they do. So then the red jacket becomes their life, and the social media becomes their life, and this is me, and it's just it just becomes weird. So they're actually weird people. They don't maybe have life experience. They don't have anything else going on. And then it transfers over to social. I'll give you a perfect example of the first client we had that did it the right way. And his name's Richard. We added wine as part of his brand. It started because we told him, hey, man, you should drink before you record your videos to loosen you up a little bit because you're a little bit corporate on your videos, right? That's how we started to get him like loosening up on videos. And he started doing it. And then like the wine became a thing on live streams. And it was done in like a
Basically turned him into an alcoholic.
but like he'd live stream like once a week, and
Here at Launch Socials, we support all heavy booze.
but he's got the wine with him, and it became like a brand thing, but a very tasteful thing because he's doing it on the live streams. It's cool. Maybe he shares it here and there in his stories, but it's not every post. If every post he's holding up the wine bottle like, yeah, guys, I'm drinking today, it just becomes weird and stupid and just not. There's no relatability in that sense. So it's to me building these brands and helping people build brands, and as we go and do it, like Logan's got the 3 drinks thing, right? Done in a tasteful manner, and he's got people posting.
It's
right?
it's a brand ritual, right?
Yeah.
It's the same as like, I'm not sure if you guys know this guy. This guy's in real estate. It's Thatch Nguyen. He's like big.
Oh yeah,
like,
I know who he is. He's
like,
Asian, right?
Yeah, and so he goes every morning. He's like has a different filter. He's like, "Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. Let's get going." Like he just had the same first story, the exact same. And like, think of it what you want. I think it's genius because everyone's just like, when I watch it, I'm like, freaking.
They're going to watch it.
Yeah,
every
they're
morning.
gonna watch it, and it's just kind of like
Something weird with the cameras going on. This will be fixed when our new video guy comes in very shortly, February, like a week or two. But
It's not gonna fix it.
we'll have another camera. We'll figure it out. It'll be all good. Don't worry about it.
See, that's the beauty of having when you actually make money.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this the other day. So when I was at this master, my girlfriend calls me. She's like, her car got broken into, and it was like at first, like, "Oh shit, are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, but like it so sucks because this, and this was stolen." Like it's a bunch of shit, like laptop and all that shit. But it's like nice because you're just like, okay, we'll buy another one. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it's that much,
Oh, I need to get a flight here. Da, 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 da. Okay, we'll just buy it.
Yeah, exactly. It's facts.
It's just a tool.
Yeah,
right? And it's
and
super cliche to say, but
But
it really is just a tool.
It feels good because it's like it takes away the cope from like now she's gonna be sad for 4 days because my laptop got stolen. Oh, it's so expensive. It's just like, okay, I like it. You want to go buy your stuff, but like it's cool. Just chill. There'll be a new one. Like, just make sure you're safe.
And
type of vibe.
there's basically nothing that's not replaceable.
Exactly.
I mean,
Imagine you guys were poor and your cameras are overheating. Now you can't film a pod. Now you guys got no income source anymore.
Yeah.
Can't promote a lot of socials.
That's a fact.
Now that's actually one thing I'm
not-
curious.
I mean, that wouldn't happen. We could just tweet all day and we'd be fine. But
we would lose our YouTube rev though.
even though we're not collecting that right now,
Now one thing I'm curious about, guys, because we've spoken about this.
let's hear it.
You guys been talking about like kind of restructuring or like
Yeah.
relaunching the whole launch social thing.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of curious to hear.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good
Go
question.
for it.
Up until I would say November, December, the product was pretty similar to what it was when we first launched it in May. I think there was like maybe one iteration between May and like October, really, where we added some stuff and we kind of solidified the process. But I was still really full-time at the agency through September, through the end of September. No, through October, pretty much. And
I wouldn't say you were full time.
but you know what I mean? Like it's like I got multiple clients still at that time. And so there's a big focus on it, right? There's not a massive focus on this. And at least for me, the way I think about it, and obviously Logan is crushing it, and Logan's got the fitness brand too, and he's doing well, right? But when I kind of put my full attention on it in November, we did a big push for Black Friday, but we didn't do the numbers we wanted to. We were, setting expectations a little too high. Oh, we're going to close $1 million in sales in December because we're the best marketers ever, blah, blah, blah. We're going crazy, right? Setting expectations high. And what we realized at the time is we are bringing clients in and we're getting people results. The people that are going to get results are going to get results at the end of the day. But we're bringing people in to a product that wasn't getting them to that dream outcome or the finished result or the actual reason they bought the program fast enough. And our goal was to speed it up. So we kind of like backed off on the marketing. And what we've done is we've added a lot of I guess you could say done for you elements, right? Where we actually write the hooks, we write the content, we'll write shout outs, we will write sales scripts, we'll write DM scripts now. We will do more things for them and then place it into their process that we help them build, right? So instead of them just coming in and needing to learn how to do a hook, needing to learn how to write, the substance, needing to learn how to film a video, needing to learn how to post it the right way, needing to learn how to structure the bio, etc., and learn all these things, we've given them almost like a starter kit that helps them learn along the way. And it's like a launch pad, right? So that when they continue, to go and continue to move forward, they have this like foundation built by us, right? So
yeah, and to add on that, like I looked at it as, again, like someone comes in and there's always a point where it clicks, but there was two pieces with it. Like they still need to learn how to do all those things. It's not because we're not like we are doing it to kick them off, because I just want them to get to that like light bulb moment faster.
It reduces the friction.
Because I don't want, we're not done for you. I don't want to be scheduling their post for a year and stuff like that. But we're getting them to the point where if we can get them to that first like good video that gets that like positive feedback loop really fast, it sinks in super fast. And then from there, it's basically putting the time and attention we're putting into people, it just like forcing it to come in at a point where it can be so much higher level versus focusing on these little like tangential problems.
And additionally, people that already have businesses running, someone makes $1 million a year, they do not want to join a coaching program. They want to join something that gives them like what they need to execute on, and then they execute on it and they go, right? Nice. And that's what we are able to do now. So we're not able to just sell consumers. We're able to sell people that have real businesses that want, they don't want to purchase a full done for you thing, but they may want, to just do it themselves, etc. We're able to give them that starter kit and they're willing to purchase it now.
And then additionally, I would just say, like I think in doing that, like we basically took all of the stuff that's maybe been inherent to my brain or Nick's brain, where it's like it lives somewhere, but it lives in us, and therefore it can't operate without us. And taking it and like really condensing down what is actually happening, almost like if you could turn a marketing brain into like an if-then logic chart, and turning the process into its own like living, breathing organism, so that number one, we can build our team so we can do more shit. Because I've realized too, like I had an epiphany, because we were pushing super hard, and like the offer piece, the first part of it, I think was a piece of it. But also too, like we did close a ton of deals, and I was realizing like, fuck, as soon as that happens, now then there's just like this huge burden. There's this huge drag of like actually really making sure like that everyone, because I don't want to work with anybody if they're not going to get good results. You know what I mean?
They're not going to fucking do the work. Because here's the biggest thing, like with coaches, consultants, and all these like dummies, they just put all these SOPs in place, which they're probably fucking stolen from someone else. But besides the point, it's like, it's when you go in, what are you going to do the first 30 days, right? How are you going to sell yourself?
Yeah.
And so one of my friends from actually Switzerland, he's like coaching videographers, and his shit is so good. Where like, they genuinely almost harass you. Where like, they just follow up, hey, did you send your video pitch today? Okay, good. And like they have a 30-day challenge when you come in. So it's like, basically, if you take action and you're actually okay at what you do, you actually have doubled your money within 30 days. It's genius.
It's beautiful. And I think we've really gotten to that point where, because we have a private chat with every single person that joins. and my sister, who actually works for us, manages those. So if you're not showing up to calls and you haven't filled out the documents that we need from you to actually get you the stuff that we're going to deliver to you, and you haven't checked in with us, she's following up and we're following up on a nearly weekly basis saying, where are you? Why'd you pay us this money just to not show up?
Yeah.
Right? Super important to us because we actually want people to get results, because results, not only one, we want people to get results because they're paying us this money. It feels good. Two, we want testimonials so we can continue to grow the business. And it's cool to see people succeed overall.
I signed up with this performance coach because, like, even though I was big in athletics, like, kind of when you start a business, you kind of let that side go sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part was, like, he would follow up with me in the beginning of, like, slack around a bit. But he would just, like, be like, yo, man, you're not going to get your goal. I almost got to the gym because I felt bad for him. Because I was like, yo, this guy following up.
You're accountable to him.
Yeah, and I'm accountable to him. And I'm like, yo, I want to be a cool case study for him. And right now I suck. And it's like this accountability thing where, like, if your coach is like, yo, why would you pay us money when you're not going to go and do any work? It's almost like, shit. Like, when you actually go and care, like, there comes something out of it. It's the same at the agency. We had a client that we were growing like crazy. We're like, hey, you need to hire a setter. It took motherfucker 3 months to conclude that he doesn't want to hire a setter because it would cost him 2%. I was like, yo, you're dumb. With our existing clients, like, when they go and need to do something, we'll go, like, not harass them, but, like, we'll follow up. Mm-hmm. And, like, if something's going bad, like, I'll get not emotional, but I get very upset about it. Because I'm like, yo, I want you to win. Yes, you're going to pay us a bag out of it, but, like, besides the point, I genuinely want you to go and win, because if you're working with us, like, by default, you need to be a winner or a champ at something. Because at this point, we're not working with, like, fucking pussies or, like, wannabes anymore. Yeah. Like, you got to be a champ to go.
And that's basically what 100%, like, you're on them all the time. And that's basically what we've done. We've really processized the entire thing, taken everything from our brains, put it into, like, documents, and created an actual roadmap that pulls them through. You do this, then you do this, then you do this, and you just crawl your way or walk your way or run your way through the process depending on your talent and skill level.
Yeah, and that's really, like, it's so interesting with all of these different things, like, really getting people to use the stuff. That's, like, actually the most important and probably the hardest piece. It really is. Like, it's actually crazy when you think about it. Like, just if getting the usability, like, what is the actual objective efficacy of people using the product or service or whatever it is you're doing, that's everything.
Because, like, if no one's using it, you're never gonna scale.
And also too, like, on that note, like, as an entrepreneur, like, I value that more than anything now, because I look back at the past, since we were really working on Launch Socials, which is since, like, June basically. And it's so crazy to me because now the whole space just keeps growing, right? Everybody wants to do content stuff. And I look back at it and it's like,
everyone's posting fucking, I mastered short form content. Retweet to get my free PDF.
It's super fun.
I look at this shit, I'm like, yo, none of this shit is applicable. Mm-hmm. Like, not saying I'm the end all be all, but, like, what you're saying is straight up. Like, motherfucker gets a 10K views in a single video, which, like, an Andrew Tate repost. He's like, I figured out short form content.
Yeah. And it's hilarious to me because, like, we talk about the usability, or there's a word I'm looking for that I can't come up.
It's like tangible. It's tangible and you can follow it. It's like it's very repeatable.
Yeah, but it's I look back at that and it's like I don't even care anymore because the amount of our own, like,
sauce,
just action that is taken, like, there's just so much distance there. Because we've learned by actually just, like...
So, like, if someone wanted to go and replicate our coaching product right now, they could, but it would take them probably 6 months to catch up because you have to realize some of the things, in my opinion, to the product level.
It's hard, right? We've had that. So that was a recent shift that we've made at the agency because, I mean, you and I know this, right? Like, in this little niche we're in, I was always like, oh, I don't want anyone to know about it, like, only the clients. And then we just had this one moron who just basically left, violated multiple contracts, and just went and sold everything. Mm-hmm. And, like, off of that, like, the anxiety almost got, like, bigger. Mm-hmm. But then one day I was like, hold up, this dude is, like, too much operated BS, so he's not going to look at the ads. Whereas, like, for me, I'm never going to be, like, out of fulfillment. I'm always going to be looking at stuff. Like, I'm going to be scrolling theme pages. I was like, so you're actually teaching stuff from 6 months ago, and basically... you're falling behind. But like for us, we're always going to be top of mind.
And he doesn't actually know how the process itself works because he's just copying.
Exactly. And on top of that, for anyone getting into it, you have like a 2-year data gap, my guy.
Yeah.
Like 2-year data gap plus, like you're doing multiple other things. For us, we just do this. Like I don't trade, I don't go and invest crazy amounts. Like I just do this. This is my thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think again, if that's all you guys focus on, hard to go and compete with that.
So let me ask you. I had a different question, but I forgot what it was. We'll probably come back to it. Something about team or whatever. But the other question I had was, what's your big vision, like, goal? Why build an agency? Because I imagine it's not just I want to afford some stuff and get some nice stuff for my girlfriend anymore.
Now it's just about not being poor anymore, really. Like I think it's this weird thing where like you go in, you're trying to make 10K a month, you think like you're balling, and then the more money you make, you just realize it doesn't do much. But now the goal really is, one, I want to go and scale the agency, because the one thing that just grinds my gears is like, everyone's like, you can't scale an agency, it's not scalable. Like, well, we're scaling it higher than most coaching programs right now. And so that's one thing, just scaling it for like the sake of like, it goes back to sports route, like being the best version of yourself, which means you make the most amount of money. But two, long-term game, want to get into real estate eventually, but really kind of ingrain my name in this whole content marketing, personal branding game.
Yeah.
Like kind of acquire some, like not acquire, but like get partnerships and shit in like with good creators, because that's easier actually than right now. We're just taking clients and we're building their house. Whereas like if you already have a house, but you just need to kind of design the interior, it's much easier.
100%.
So that's kind of what
we've seen that too, where someone needs help with a product. Okay, meet with us. Boom, join. We'll fix your product. Get you your sales script. Boom, you're selling. Okay, we'll launch it. Okay, need to fix this, and then they're on point. Good. And it's 100% way easier. Now, on that note, I remember my first question. You said that you're kind of in fulfillment right now, or you'll never be out of fulfillment. Like when I consider something scaling, to me personally, obviously, always probably going to oversee things, right? But I want to be out of fulfillment as much as possible, or out of like, I don't want to build zaps. I don't want to do stuff like that. No. You know what I mean?
We don't even have a single zap.
Interesting. So that's very interesting. So when you say scaling, define that to me, because I define scaling as like we're growing this thing, we're working hard on it, but we're overseeing it and we're managing the system, but we're not inside of it as much.
We're inside the system.
So like, how do you define that? What does scaling look like to you? Because obviously you guys are doing really good.
We're probably gonna go, fingers crossed our fucking client sales teams will deliver. We'll probably be in like the 300 a month range over the next 30 to 45 days. But outside
profit or rev?
300 rev, which is like 75-80% profit,
nice.
Something like that. But realistically, what it looks like for us, like growing, we grow through rev shares, right?
Yep.
And I just like one of my mentors, Jeremy Haynes, he's like, made the best fucking companies. Like, okay, what's the highest leverage task you can do in the business? And I was like, he's like, well, rev share, right? And how do you get more rev share? You write better ads. So it's like one of those things where you're like, duh, it's fucking obvious, but where's my time best spent? So right now, what I'm transitioning into is I'm the one just browsing TikTok because I feel like I understand content pretty well, feeding the good posts on Instagram, TikTok to the team, be like, hey guys, these are the inspirations. Here's what we need to go and execute it for. And then basically they go out, kind of work on it. I go and review it with them and kind of manage them to go make sure we actually put posts out. My business partner doing the same thing on the tweet and thread side while still kind of writing his own shit. And then I'm like doing that. It's like 1 hour, 2 hours a day. And then the rest, I'm just focused on sales. Because our stuff isn't like, yo, I need to go and acquire stuff. I woke up with like 20 people saying like, where do I send the invoice to? Because it's such high demand for what we're doing on the done for you side. Mm-hmm. But my focus is, how can I get the sales teams to perform? How can I go and get, stories to double the leads we're getting? That's really for me where I focus on. I don't focus on like, I'm out here just directing, because naturally, obviously, nobody's going to be so incentivized to go and pay attention to the 2-3 words. Who's going to pay attention to like, oh, this needs to get done, that needs to get done, than me as like the co-founder and like business owner. So that's kind of where we're focused on. It's a different game, because obviously at the time you guys at one point just focused on like the marketing in terms of like getting new leads and like fixing fulfillments, like big picture fulfillment stuff. Whereas for us, because we're obviously like performance driven marketing, I'm focused on like, coming up with the big idea, spotting, oh, this is a trend. Okay, how can we go and execute it? And then when I have the idea, sending it off, working with the guys on crushing it, while obviously making sure clients don't fuck up.
Why build the agency over building your own coaching program? Because you scale people's coaching programs, right?
Yeah.
That was always the question I had for myself. And I was like, I'm looking at all these guys and they're doing 200-300K a month, maybe a little bit more. We had one guy, launch an NFT and do, almost $1 million a month, whatever. Stuff like I'm seeing that and I'm like, and obviously you've seen even bigger numbers with your guys. So I'm seeing that and I'm like, this should just be me. I should just be doing this. This makes more sense to me. It's less headache overall. Like, it's one thing to manage. It's one thing to build. It works for my personality and my skill set. Why have you stuck with the agency and not gone to do, a coaching program?
So it's really two answers to it. And I think it comes back to, I'll be very similar to you. Where like, oh yeah, coaching program, subscription. Like, I would come to them, a business partner, be like, no, build the agency. Build it. And it goes to the point where I was like, yo, dog, fuck you. You never want to innovate. Like, I'm thinking about this, but I'm like, no, it's actually, that's a good point because we've been building, right? So why would I go and debuild and shut everything down and start something new? And the second thing is, I just have a deep, like, not disgust, but I just don't too much like the consulting space. Because now, if I sign a client for like $5,000, 10, 7 grand, 10 grand a month now, when we go and sign these guys, it's coming in MRR. If I go and do that, it's pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet deal because obviously monthly recurring. Whereas if I sign a coaching client after like 90 days, like whatever long, that person's gone, or I need to resell them, but then I need to find a new party trick because they obviously got what they paid for.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where like I just don't like the coaching model, and then over time it's becoming a pain. Like for us, we're like 3 key hires away from like being actually able to go and hit 500, 700 a month. Whereas like with a coaching program, that means more sales reps, more everything, like more breaking down. It's just
what is that? What are those 3 key hires? Like why are those the pieces?
So I think we need one more copywriter so we can actually expand like client capacity.
And so the 3 copywriters right now, are they split between certain clients?
So we're kind of building it out like this, obviously based on like Iman systems. You got to give him credit for that. It's basically like clusters. So like each copywriter is like the account manager for 3 brands. Me and my business partner will still oversee everything. I'll go and review all the reels. He'll do all the text content and we'll come up with ideas. But they're kind of like the driving forces of
they're writing a lot of the ads. They're writing a lot of the video topics, stuff like that, posting.
Exactly. We have the ideas, they execute, we review, kind of, tell them what they should change. And then we kind of do that. What we need is we need one more cluster, which means we can now go and handle basically pretty much 12 to 16 clients.
So it's 4 per cluster?
Pretty much, like 3 to 4. That's what we're testing.
Got it.
And then outside of that, we need like one like head of creative pretty much. Like just someone that can come in, like kind of work with me on this. Because over time, what I really enjoy, like we spoke about this, I enjoy sales. I love sales. Like I just want to dive more into this space because I've noticed like I'm decent at it. So like I want to have where basically like the first revisions, the second revisions are done by the head of creative, and I just need to ideate and final improvements. Because sometimes like naturally like our guys are working very hard. Sometimes they just submit something that's dog shit, and like we just let them know. But it's like I don't want to go and deal with that. Over time, once we have a head of creative, which is like maybe 6 months out, we're able to go and do that. And the third one is just someone ops. As I said, we have 0 SAPs. We have like 2 softwares. And like, we're literally just going, our whole CRM and like task management is like, okay, who hasn't made enough money yet? What do we need to go do today? That's the whole like workflow.
And you guys have 12, or if you're at 10, 12 clients, right?
Yeah.
You don't really, to me, you don't really need a CRM. You have like Slack channels, all the communications in there, etc. But if you're coaching program, obviously CRM, like all.
I mean, not really sales, but like more like a task management software, something like that. Like I think that's something where we need like an ops person for.
Sure.
Same with like when we onboard clients, that's something I'm implementing after this weekend. It's basically we're just setting up their CRM. We're setting up some baseline zaps. So like we basically just see whenever a dollar comes into their business, we know about it. Because we've had some specialists that were hiding $1 million, $1.5 million in sales, but out of nowhere, everything was attributed to other channels. And then when you look into sales calls, like, yeah, I saw you on Instagram. I saw you on Instagram. So we're trying to fix that too. And that obviously requires some tech know-how. And I'm not that guy. I'm not going to go look at spreadsheets. That seems to be like a little non-spreadsheet.
Got that.
So like, it's stuff like that I hate doing. And it's like, for me at least, at my stage and like with my skill set, it would be the lowest ROI activity to actually go.
I think one of the reasons I like it is because once it's in place, Now I can just go to the spreadsheet and I have the answer right there. Boom.
Oh, I love it.
Or-
I
or
love
like-
the data. I love
Yeah.
the data. However, I ain't gonna set that shit up.
I wouldn't say I like it. I like the outcome of it.
Yeah,
and I'm okay setting it up. Or like the notification come through.
Got our Google Sheets gorillas going hard.
That's our fulfillment donkey right there.
Yep. It's really interesting to me because I think I'm like you and I are very similar, and like now we're getting these pieces in place, and I'm really excited because I like probably started off I was really good at sales. Like that was my first skill set, and the more I do marketing and all that kind of stuff, I'm super excited to like here in the next few weeks. It's gonna get real fun because the TISM's just gonna be spurring. I'm gonna just be turboed out every morning. How am I gonna crank the pages and like our brands and stuff like that? So I'm super excited about that. But I think it's interesting too, like just to hear. Like we always think the grass is a little bit greener, you know. Like you're like, oh, the coaching program sounds so much better to me. It's like, oh, the agency sounds so much better. Like at the end of the day, if it's gonna make a lot of money, they're all gonna suck to some extent. Like they're gonna have some shitty aspect of whatever it is you're doing. And I feel like that's just like it's just interesting to hear. And I feel like people, especially people who don't actually really make money, like they weigh out these like business models as if it's like
They spend more time comparing the business models than actually.
yeah, it's like
They're like, wait. Now, Luke and Ima, they both drop a metric video comparing this. Now, this third person did it too. Maybe I should watch that shit too.
Yeah,
Just
then
sitting there
it's
like,
well, if you were doing this type of agency, you would have this amount of time overhead. And it's like, dude, like if you're gonna make 6 figures a month, it's probably gonna be hard. You're probably gonna have to work really hard. It's probably gonna take a lot of time. Like you're probably gonna have to obsess over it. Like
but
it's just
an
interesting.
amazing
About
thing.
that. Oh, go for it.
But we have this one guy, we said this is mastermind. This one guy was speaking. He's like coming up, he's like making $1 million a month. He's like, yeah, guys, I'm at $1 million a month. OnlyFans automation. I was just sitting there and I was like, what? And he explains like the model. It's basically like a digital pimp pretty much. But I was sitting there and I was like, halfway through, I was like, I had so much admiration. I was like, this guy really got creative. Apparently, he was probably good in hooking up with chicks. And he was just like, how can I turn this into a business model? And he just like found a way. And it's like, there's so much money out there where it doesn't really matter the business model.
Yeah.
Like, but how you do it. I personally could never go and do that because like, that's just not me. But like, some people it works.
We've talked about it a little bit. Like
Starting an
pretty,
OnlyFans agency.
no, it's pretty disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've had exposure like here in different places to people who do it, and like a couple of years ago, I was just like, like whatever, like, a lot of those guys, it's better than like the super blue pilled guy who's just like getting tugged around on a leash by his fucking girlfriend or whatever. But and so I was like, all right, you know what, whatever, like, but now I just look at it and it's like, dude, there's just so much gross shit in the world. I don't want any
Part of the problem.
any piece of it.
Part of the problem.
It's just
What are you gonna do when you come home? Like that's just the biggest concern for me. Is like one big thing that we have like in the agency, like between us, all of us, like integrity and ethics. It's like I don't want to come home and like have families or like girlfriend ask like, yo, what do you do? Like, what do you? Yeah, like
How do you make
pimped out
money?
another chick today? Like it's just like pimped out another chick in the gram today.
close 2 hoes.
That would just not be me. That's like, even if you look at my stuff, like I'm zero like the, oh yeah, like freaking extreme, like right extreme, like with females and stuff. I'm trying to like, I have my girlfriend for 7 years, she's probably getting a ring soon and like, it's all great. I'm very much on that wavelength.
Okay.
And so it's like, that would be zero my thing.
I want to go back. This is a question I had. You said the 6-figure month. Like, what should be the metric? We see Seb going viral saying that every kid in their 20s should have a Lamborghini. I think every kid in their 20s should be making $100K, and
A year or a month?
a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you and Logan, you and I will go and share a bit on this. I'm not sure, but one thing that really annoys me, especially about these coaching morons, is like their whole life. I'm not sure whether they didn't get much love growing up, but like their whole life is based on cash collected.
Yeah.
And-
We've talked about this.
And like for me,
And it's all they do.
yeah, but genuinely, I just think like there's more to it, right?
100%.
Like I see you huge into fitness, and like when I see stuff like this, I try to reevaluate because I try to like I don't care how much money you make. I try to like reevaluate my life, and there's something when I like see you guys rolling around and like you guys just don't like you guys just drink water. I'm like shit, why am I fucking drinking soda? And it's the same with like goals, right? Over time, you start to ask yourself like, what's really in it. I don't want to be some multi-billionaire, like freaking big business dude.
Yeah.
Dog, when I'm making like, if I'm taking home, like when I'm taking home 5 mil a year or something, I'm probably quit half of it and go play tennis professionally. Because like I genuinely care that. So I don't think the whole like how much you make a year or like a month should
Sure.
matter. Sure, it's
I saw
great
the question on Twitter recently.
yeah, and it's a great
I
question.
think you said 100, right?
I said 100 a month is
Okay.
great. Like I think you should go into it, given
But that was
you want
that
to
was
have
a different
lifestyle.
question though. The
Mhm.
question was, at what point like can you live freely and have nice things?
Is
and
it
never
is it
need
the
for
amount you're
anything?
making or is it the amount you're spending?
I think it's basically I think when you make 100K a month, it's pretty going hard. Like unless you go like absolutely crazy, yes, it's easy to go and spend 100 grand. I'm aware of
Yeah.
that. But from like just a general, standpoint,
Yeah.
with 100 grand a month, like you can pretty much afford everything
You
nicely.
pretty much have anything you want.
Yeah, like you have
Except for a
everything
private
you want.
jet.
It's
Except for maybe some cars.
like all
Of
this
course, exactly.
Certain mansions.
all this kind of stuff is super interesting to me because like you mentioned the people who live for cash collected, like that was not how I wanted to just like work out and fight and make music and just like I wanted to just do cool shit all the day. I never cared about money. I just then realized by proxy, oh shit, you you kind of need money if you want to just do cool shit all day.
I want
You
to
know what I
drive cars really fast.
You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what I want to do all day.
and I just don't know how people live like that, and it's
Okay.
really sad. It's really sad to see the like. And we talked about like personality and being yourself in terms of like front end content, but it's actually just sad to see all these young guys like start pedestalizing like money and clubbing versus outside of. I mean, I like those things, you know. I love to go party and ask any of these guys like when I'm ripping it for sure, but that was never like my priority at all, and I don't know how you just throw away your entire like life direction to the point of it just seems so empty and
Yeah.
boring and awful. I
I
don't know.
I have like two friends, like one of them making like a shit ton of money, like way more than I am, and like he doesn't spend it. Like he doesn't care for like the stuff that some of us care for, right? So like for him, he's like, I just enjoy the building part, and like it's a result of it, right? I don't think you need to have a Lambo in your 20s. I don't think you need to make X
Yeah,
amount. For me personally, I like the finer things. I kind of grew up around some of them, and I want to expand on those. So for me, I have like my number, but I don't think if you don't have a certain thing, you're like a sucker, because what I feel like the moment you go and say that, you shit on half of your team or the
Yeah.
people around you. And I just
100%.
don't think
Agreed. You know, something that I was thinking of. I think there's like I want to have fun. We all want to have fun, right? But I think to me sometimes version of fun is business. So like for example, I'm watching these videos of like a sales floor, and it's Cardone, and he's just hammering the phones up. That looks like so much fun to me, and I want to have that with a group of 20, 30 sales guys there on the floor. I want that. And sure, okay, money comes, but like the atmosphere there, it's almost like a sports game, right? And that you need to make the money to get to that point, right? But like that shit looks
Roger
fun.
Sales Olympics.
but
That
that's
shit looks
but
fun.
that's fact. Somebody was like, oh, I was reading chat to like two friends of mine. They're like, oh, it looks so miserable being on social media. It's like, dude, this is the most fun shit.
Or,
Like,
or like us just getting on camera and just like talking. Dude, him and I are gonna start live streaming at some point. He's gonna be in his apartment. I'm gonna be here. We're gonna live stream and we're gonna say the most ridiculous stuff. Aiden Ross X high ticket offer, Launchpad, June 2023. That's what's happening. and but we just want to have fun with it. But obviously money's gonna come with that, right? Because it's attention, whatever. We're good at it. It's cool. We're getting paid for just having fun. And that's kind of how we look at it.
Yeah.
It's interesting though to show you the dynamic between like Nick and I's personality. Like Nick wants to be there. Like I almost envision it like a leaderboard at a golf tournament, but it's all the sales reps' names and like Nick's looking at the charts. He's yelling at people. He's just berating them and they're called, give me that fucking phone, and like, you know what I mean? Whereas my version of it is like if I could get to the point where like I almost want to be like a similar version of like Cole Bennett, if you know who that is. He does like Lyrical Lemonade, but it's like I want to like I want to go run on the beach in the morning and get my son and swim in the ocean and come back and have like a targeted 2-hour window where I'm like carefully calculating how I can cook up like audio, video, propaganda that just like does whatever I want in the world. You know what I mean? Like that's just my version.
I like the leaderboard idea.
But no, you're joking. You're joking. I'm executing this right now. Like I'm
The leaderboard idea?
Oh yeah.
We used to have that at the car dealership. It's
No,
actually,
we're actually
it's
just
a good reminder. We're going to do that.
We're creating CRMs right now for all the clients, and each of their fucking sales reps, whether they like it or not, they're going to be in there. All their metrics are going to be tracked, and guess where all the data from all the clients they're going to my spreadsheet, and I see who's fucking performing. No. You think I'm joking? I can show you this after
I
the
don't
call.
think you're joking at all.
When we have one guy, because I groom these guys. When I see what I recently did, I just poached like half the sales team. We're basically
And it's funny, every time you go, I poached half the sales team, or this guy was talking this shit, whatever, it's the same guy.
But basically, I just went and was like, I just connect with these guys because the sales team are the least respected guys in most organizations. So I just go in, I give them a time of day. I'm like, hey, let's connect with me. Hit me up on IG. And so when they're good, they're rare. And so they get badly treated. I just go jump on a call, connect with them once a month. And then over time, they're like, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity. And like, your leads are always good. So I'm like,
You're super good at this. You do this with everybody. You are super good at this.
that's my superpower.
What is it?
His networking. And he'll like, dude, every week you swipe up at least one of my stories. And you're just checking in, you're saying what's up. And I know you're doing it to 100, 200 other people.
But so here's the thing though. Not to do it comes. I'm not doing it to like, oh,
You genuinely care. We have genuine conversations.
But that's a superpower because my business partner, I got him by checking in with him and fucking getting him to respond to my DM.
I know. I know Jeremy cares because he does the same thing to me, but they're always super fun.
Yeah, great.
So you're just trying to fucking patch together some autistic.
So something about like the 1% man club.
Like that, or it's just, dude. With me, they're all over the place. Like you never know what the fuck it could be. Like,
but again,
he'll slide up on my stories and be like, "Oh, Latina impregnation today." Like, I'm just like, what the fuck? It's so funny.
But it's one of those things where like with sales reps especially, they feel cared for, and like that has almost more currency than like the freaking dollar signs. And so when I hit them like, hey, by the way, we just have a client that's like 3 weeks booked out, want to jump on and be sales team manager, they roll. And so I want to build like my own little team of like sales ninjas. And so when I connect with them, I always tell them like, by the way, when you close for clients, like I have certain expectations. So there's one dude like not jumping on because like some brother or some cousin came out of the closet and like was walking around like girl clothes. Like, yo, sucks for you, brother. But when you jump on the phone, you fucking close deals. Don't give me this like, oh, you didn't show up to like 8 sales calls because you were a bit sad. Dog, nobody cares. And like that's where like that's where like I'll go and send them voice messages and I'll probably be a complete dickhead. I'm still trying to navigate that, but they'll just go.
I don't think you need to. Being a dick is an underrated quality.
But guess what? Our client sales team manager will go bitch about their consistency. I'll just go send them one rude voice message, then go like, so how can we go and fix it? Be a bit compassionate, and they'll go and close.
Of course. Are you being a dickhead? Or are you telling them the truth?
I'm just calling them out.
Exactly. That's the difference. You're not being a dickhead.
You're a dickhead by society's norm because you're
I get it a lot. I don't really have a filter in regards to like I'll tell you my feelings. And Logan's the same way, right? Maybe not as much as me. No, probably more than me. You talk a lot of shit.
Yeah, what I'll do is
he won't really like fully say it. Like I'll tell you exactly what's wrong, what's going on.
He be doing the math on how much he needs to finance 100 kids.
Logan will just talk some shit.
Yeah, you can basically just pretty much count on me to like, if we're around, like I'll just
Jeremy, you do something stupid. You know what, dude? You're being such a woman right now, and he won't tell you what's actually wrong. But
I'll just perennially talk shit to you, and then like it'll get drip fed.
You'll just let him figure.
Yeah, like you'll naturally find your cadence of what needs to change based on.
That's literally what I do too. It's so similar. We just go make fun of people and just like call them idiots, and then over time they're like, "Oh, it's because of this," and you're just like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad you figured it out." Yeah.
I do it to Noah a lot. Noah gets some fruit out of a lot of it. I do it to
on the sales side of things.
Yeah.
You're happy I'm closing for my clients. We had someone give us I wasn't feeling like it today. And I was like, feel like being poor again? Like you want to lose your job? Because like in the grand scheme of things, like no offense, but like in the grand scheme of things, like you know this. Back in college, there was no fucking, oh, we playing a conference game today. I'm not feeling like it today. If you're not feeling it today, you're off of the roster. And then it takes you 3-4 weeks of like precious playing time for you to go and get that shot again.
Yeah.
And what if then you play someone you can't play, and then you're back on the bench again? That shit sucks.
Like football,
Mhm.
dude, it's like that at every practice. It's like, oh, it was so brutal. I remember like waking up after this was the worst mistake I ever made. I studied engineering while I was playing football, right? Awful. That's probably why I dropped out, honestly. If I would have taken something easy, it would
Communication.
probably would have been a blast, right?
Freaking studies.
Yeah. But I remember like getting physics assignments on Wednesday night that were due on Thursday, and we had Thursday morning football practice. And so I would get home from Wednesday practice at like 8 p.m. after I'd eaten, showered, whatever, and start on this homework that the people who just had engineering, they've been doing all day. So we would like be posted up till 4 a.m. finishing this shit, and then wake up at like 6, morning practice in the fucking cold, snowing, and you got to go rumble with all these 300-pound bears at 6 in the morning. It's just like, fuck, dude. And if you fuck something up, then you're just,
Then you get yelled at.
then you get no reward for it because you don't actually get to go like make plays.
But you see, that's why like that's something we have like in the business. It's kind of like, obviously I'm like going to be like a more loving set, but it's kind of like when somebody goes sent the email the other day and had like, hey, first name, and they just didn't format the first name properly. You know, I'm like, dude, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Little things. It's little
Yeah,
things.
it's not just like, oh, sorry, I didn't feel like paying attention. No,
You know
Can't happen.
you know now that you mentioned like the football thing, think about and it's interesting in regards to like sales, right? Sales people, I'm just gonna take as many sales calls as possible and no training, right? But you look at football, you look at any of these sports, the vast like 70% of every time you meet with, more than that maybe, meet with the team, you are practicing, you are training for the actual game.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how we come into business and we have this mindset like, oh, we don't need to practice. We don't need to, go look at other content. We don't need to review our sales calls. We don't need to study game, film, whatever. We're good. We'll just jump in. We'll just take the calls. And it's very interesting. We almost trick our minds into just doing the thing when we should be practicing for the practicing or just training, whatever, for the majority of the stuff.
and every single day you practice, right? That's the biggest thing. What I was referencing earlier with like being in the business, right? Because so for me, I'm big on the whole reel side of things. When I go and have like 3-4 reels that don't pop or like don't get the views they should, I'm doubting myself. I'm doing overtime. Like I'm scrolling more and I'm like looking at shit. But then when I figured out, it's like, yes, sir, I'm still here. Because also,
Yeah.
like from a training, if you guys just get like lazy, you don't push content, you don't look at content, like how are you gonna go teach people? Like I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's like how am I gonna go charge people to do it for them if I'm not to a degree doing it myself? I think that's
You have to look at least an hour of content a day almost.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
and that's
Why
really,
is this performing?
that's really the biggest thing my business partner pushed from the get go. So like he's getting the credit for that. I would have been the first one to fucking shiny objects and it would be like, everyone says to outsource, I'll outsource too. And like now I'm very much on the wavelength where I'm like, I'm always gonna watch content, give ideas, and like trying to continuously improve.
Well, it's interesting to me that you mentioned like the higher leverage tasks, and you were talking about that as your higher leverage tasks. Like it's funny how that really is. When I look at all the people I know who are really like making big boy money, they like their highest ROI thing is to just dedicatedly be able to like think like that. You know what I mean? Or research maybe is a better word. Like
Brainstorm.
and this is something I consistently see, and it's something I've thought about. I just meeting different people, or like I met. There was this girl whose dad had like sold a huge software, right? And you see like how a lot of these people function in the internet space. It's like the real like killers. They're actually just like going so deep into the thing that it's impossible to lose. Like you reach a point of depth within the marketplace of ideas that you just can't lose. Like you actually have the tangible
Yeah.
information.
You can't just one day do the short form content.
No.
Because there's 100 other guys that actually do short form content, right? Or you can't just do sales. I'm gonna make $5K doing what? Okay, maybe that happens, but you can never make a lot of money doing sales because there's 100 other guys that are sharks training that do sales, that get on the phone and want to take somebody's money. If you're just doing it for, I'll get paid, whatever, it's never gonna work.
Think how cool that is. Like, think of how cool that is. Like, for example, you guys work with your clients, you know, you give them ideas. There's immediate validation, right? Oh, this idea was good. This idea was bad. Because like, I don't have a 100% hit rate. I doubt you guys have a 100% hit
not.
rate. Like,
Yeah.
no hate, right? But like, it's hard to have it's hard to hit it. But the more you go and test, the faster you find the hit rate.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where like, even as a business owner, like the foundations of any business is simple: traffic into a funnel, conversions, right? Just like that front end traffic right now, when even Elon Musk is doing daily lives, I feel like everyone should be looking at, be like, wait, why is the richest man in the world dedicating his time, which is like fucking a gazillion times more valuable than ours, spending time on a freaking Tesla podcast?
Brand equity.
Or brand equity. Oh, okay. So maybe if I just sit my ass down for 30 minutes, I find one good reel a day and I recreate it. It takes like an hour and a half a day, or I create a tweet, whatever. Oh, now I might actually not make money right now, unless you have like setters who targeted all the likes, but you can go and literally like start building shit up. And it's so invaluable. Like, even for myself, that's my biggest knock, is I haven't done it consistently enough. Like, and that's really one thing I want to focus on, is like start pushing content every single day, testing shit, like dedicating the first hour of the day to a piece of content because you're most creative then. And so if you wake up, you push out content and you're like, it's converting. Then you roll.
I'd love to hear your take on Tate and his blow up via TikTok. Because obviously, you and I both come from the space where we curated brands very specifically for IG only, right? And obviously, I've transitioned a little bit. You're still doing it. But his was very much like out of control growth and just out of nowhere. And Tate's a character and some of that. But you, as a content person and someone else that's very high level that I respect, I want to know your take and your opinions on him just blowing up out of nowhere and how that happened and where things kind of go from here.
So
Because it changed the landscape.
His was planned. Yeah, it changed the landscape because it made people even dumber. Now everyone tries to be the next Tate. Like, here's the thing with Tate. Like, I actually wasn't aware of him until he started blowing up. So like, I think you followed him, or like some other people followed him.
We've kind of known him from in the space since like 2018, 2019.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's amazing. He was building for a while. So he already had that base audience. And I always like to think of this way. When we talk about niche versus broad, you want to start and kind of become the category king of one small thing. And then you just deploy all your soldiers, your existing audience, to go and share that shit.
Yeah.
And what he's done is very smart in many ways. Number one, he obviously went and called out like a group that I think has been very suppressed, especially here in America.
By the mass media.
Yeah,
etc.
very much. And so he basically just was like, let's just say you feel as an Atlantean freaking conqueror, you feel like you've been suppressed, right? He basically gave you like, hey, bro, I feel the same way you do, but I don't give a fuck, so I speak out.
And I've got all these cars, all this
Relatable,
money.
exactly. So if you're actually trying to replicate that, don't even do it unless you have a Bugatti or stuff, for the following reasons. One, he can actually back everything up with the lifestyle. One, two, he can handle the backlash with everything he has. And three, the reason his clips go viral isn't because he just goes and spews like some like quote unquote extreme shit.
Yeah.
The reason his shit pops is because this man's articulation is on point. He does not miss a beat. Same with like Iman. When you look at Iman's blow up, the reason his videos go viral is because I very much can say I know this. He'll go and sit for 3 hours or 2 hours and repeat 10-second clips dozens of times until he nails them. So they turn into a 12-minute video. Say again?
How do you know that?
So I think one of the guys that he's working with, one of his business partner, he's also from Switzerland. Like, we connected, and so kind of get to chat with him as well. Because I find it interesting. Like, I look at it and I'm like, yo, man, like, because you've seen him record videos, like, is he naturally like so good? He's like, yeah, he's naturally good, but like he'll be so dedicated to it. And like most people don't see
super calculated.
Very calculated,
very smart.
Very like obsessed with it. He's like, if he wants to create a YouTube video, that's bait the vibe that I'm getting. We're in his coaching program too, and like, so everything I'm getting is like, he's very like, he thinks before he talks, and he's very like obsessed. Like, if he makes a YouTube video, he wants to make the best fucking YouTube video out there. And so same with Tate. Tate doesn't just go on there and he's like, women, men. He's like very calculated, and like, you know, even when he goes on the later ones, he becomes even more calculated and more articulative. If you're able to concisely and precisely articulate your points over and over again, of course it's going to hit, especially when you talk about topics that are maybe controversial. But he was genuinely excited and passionate about the topic that he was talking about. and he was humorous as fuck.
Yeah.
And so it's that combination why I think he's blown up. Plus, obviously, the whole affiliate deal worked for him. But I think those are the core pillars, at least from my view.
I love hearing that from you because I don't hear it a lot from other people. And
The Tate repurposing method. Yo, if you do that agency, I would genuinely go back and like work at a supermarket. Because you're not meant to be in business. Like straight up. Like how dumb is that? Like I'm telling you, we have some clients and like there's not to front the clients, but like they're not very like good on camera. Right? So what do you think if I just go and tell them like, hey, what do you think of women? Or hey, what do you think of like the banks? And they just go and rap some stuff and they just like spew some garbage out. It's not going to go viral and it's actually going to make them look like dorks.
Well, yeah, I always tell like our clients, like if you're going to lean into polarization at all,
it's got to be you.
You have to genuinely believe it. Because I promise you, I've had a lot of clips of me go viral and get negative feedback. And I promise you, you don't want that negative spotlight unless you really believe in this shit. That's the only way. Because when the whole world wants, it's all fun and games when people see shit like that, but they don't realize how the counterbalance of what it feels like to be, like, obviously I've never experienced that scale, but I'm sure like to be one of the most hated men on the planet, they think they want that kind of shit and they don't. They don't.
The hardest part about it is this. Most of these internet guys, they haven't had any real life experience. Now, I won't go and sit here and say like I had a really hard life. Like my life was pretty good, had some hard work, but I went for 4 years. I lived in Fresno, played D1 there. Let me just tell you, Fresno is kind of the hood. Like I've seen my fair share of things, and even at that scale, we had someone that was like kind of polarizing around, and we were like, hey man, you should like tone it down a bit because like even at that macro scale, eventually it's gonna be what somebody's gonna do to them, a football player. One day he was basically messing with like other people's like girlfriends or whatever, just acting about it. One day 3 dudes pulled up and they beat the living shit out of him, and he was just not ready for that. And so it's one of those things that you just can't underestimate it. For me, even when I go on Twitter, I'm very mindful of like what I say. I don't try to be like crazy polarizing. Try to be more factual based because I'm aware that if I go call someone poor, call someone a moron, whatever, that person may or may not live 2 streets down from me and be connected with the wrong people. And like that's something I'm very mindful about because I think most people don't know that this shit exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of young guys, especially on Twitter, that like never been punched in the face. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Amazing. Jeremy, great discussion so far. Any last points? Any last messages? Any last things that you want to leave here while you're on our podcast with us?
Yes. Here's one thing that I feel quite strongly about is that if you're in a place where you kind of feel stuck, whether that's like you want to start a business, you want to scale a business, right? You feel stuck. Your easiest way out of it is content. And this is going to sound really dumb, but like,
interesting.
For me, just starting to put content out into the universe and like, even though it was really bad, it really got me where I am today. It got me interviews with, it even back in the day, got me interviews with like decent companies. If you just post content, you just build, you just focus on being actually a cool person you network with, like it's crazy. I was calling my dad the other day and I was like, yo, like I just started posting content and like, now we're making like crazy amounts of money. Like I'm like just traveling on like random midweek days, able to fly business, all to do all the stuff, all because at some point I started to try and drive value. And so it's almost like go just start posting it, whether it's faceless, whether it's personal, but post content, build something, share what you know. I've had an accountant recently that just put a little like 5 tax loopholes that you can exploit post on LinkedIn. He closed 3 deals off of that shit. And like for you, that could be a game changer. And if you don't know what you want to do on the content side, don't be a little bitch and like watch 10,000 of like hours of YouTube video. Just go and buy Lounge Socials and fucking get a rip in. But it's being serious. If I had a coaching program, I promote mine hard. But like I'm not a coach. I'm not going to be a coach.
I wouldn't even consider ours a coaching program at this point. It's more consulting. But same thing, right? At the end of the day, and it's true, right? Because I relate it to, I think about when I was younger. My dad knows, I feel like, everyone in our town. Like I feel like he has that network, right? That local effect. But he doesn't know everyone in the U.S. or can't reach everyone from there. But you kind of, when you post content, you become someone known for something, right? If you do it the right way and you're successful at it. And it's almost like that hometown network type of effect, but on a broader scale. Oh, you're the go-to guy for this. Or they got the car dealership because they go to this car dealership because they know this guy that works there and they know the owner. Or they go to this barbershop, or they go to this butcher, they go to this this grocery store because they know that person there. Well, it's the same thing with this. You do this because you go to this barber because you saw this guy on Instagram and he's down the street. You work with this guy for your content, us, because you watch our podcast and you've seen our stuff and you like our personality. I don't know. There's tons of examples of that, right? And I think this is the real world now. Is what it is.
I think it just comes from, again, you do real shit, then you talk about it, or you're literally like, hey, I'm poor, my life sucks, but I'm gonna go get in shape now. Like, just follow me along.
This is what I'm trying.
Yeah, and just those two things, either talk about what you've done or talk about like what you're doing, which I think is so underrated. That's my biggest regret. I wish I would have done that when I was like...
You can still do it now, though.
I know, that's what I'm doing now, but I wish back in the day when I was like in my dorm room, flipping phones that were stolen.
And you know, I actually did it. I had a camera that I bought, and this was beginning of 2019. This is beginning of 2018. So I was selling cars, and I just kind of like started to try drop shipping and stuff. I bought a camera. I was like, I'm gonna film everything. I'm gonna document it. This is what I'm gonna do. And I got scared. I was like scared of judgment, scared of what people would think, scared of what my hometown friends would think, and I didn't do it. And I really regret not doing that because the personal brand that I'd have now would be incredible.
So here's an interesting take, because I still shit myself. Like when I turn the camera on, I don't want to talk.
Interesting.
I'm trying to because I feel like doing in social media, I feel like if I record a clip, it needs to pop. And it's kind of like that pressure.
Because you're the social media guy.
Exactly. But then eventually I was like looking at it because I almost caught myself being scared. And I was like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, some random Joe Schmo who's like eating lunch, in between shifts is like going to call me an idiot, or is going to call me disingenuous or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's going to say, oh, you have a course. Like, no, I don't. But then I was like, I started to think about it, and I was like, how it would feel. Yeah. And then over time, I started to feel really comfortable about like, hey, worst case, somebody calls me an idiot and I don't care about it. Mm-hmm. And after that, it was almost like, oh, now I just need to go and do it.
And it's super interesting about that. I felt the same way. And that's the same fear that our clients have. We're all just humans. We all have to overcome that. And it's interesting that we'll tell our clients that and how to overcome it, and we'll give them guidance on it. But it's difficult for us to do the same to ourselves, and it takes a bit.
It's interesting. I'll go through because I've really put out a lot of shit over the past couple years, and I'll go through periods where it's like I'm not afraid at all anymore, but I'll go through times where I just don't feel like sharing, or I feel like it's stuff that, I don't know, it's a really weird thing. I almost feel like
that's where you gotta share. That's where you gotta share.
I feel like I've almost said everything before, and it's like the way I always get back out of it is just like really kind of gearing back to like a very genuine frame, and then doing that always really helps me a lot.
Yeah, because I know how it feels. People are like, yeah, I'm just doing a bit bad now. I don't want to talk about it. Like, that's the exact stuff that you should be talking about. Right? Like when I started like getting back into like the fitness and all that stuff again, I put it up. I was like, I've slacked, and it's been really like a bit of a like not dark place, but like a bit of something that bothered me. And so I when I posted, I was like, yeah, I feel the same. Like so many responses off of it, Mm-hmm. And then just kind of talking about it and covering that stuff has been really interesting. Yeah. Because again, people want to see your dark or like, your horrific side.
People are just all like, we all communicate. All communication is really just like emotional at the end of the day. Join Launch Socials.
Join Launch Socials. Guys, this is episode 20. We're getting to 2 hours now. I'm ready to eat.
Same.
Jeremy, thanks for coming on, bro.
Appreciate you having me.
Happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
This is amazing. It's come full circle, right?
Yeah.
And guys, episode 20, go and Instagram, we got Twitter. All the clips are there. All the clips are on YouTube. All the clips are on TikTok. We're going to start posting again. We're back. At least one a week, maybe 2. I'd like to push it for 2. But we're everywhere now.
I honestly think, based on just the conversations that we've had,
Yeah.
You guys would fucking have so much fun if you just have like a fucking weekly meeting and you just fucking record it. Obviously, blur out
a good
the
idea.
That's why we started this.
That's what. Yeah. It is why we started.
I know.
And we were like, fuck, dude, this conversation was rich.
You guys just do one talking where you just go and sit down and like maybe just roast Noah for an hour. He's like, no,
Well,
your sales are recording.
we're trying to get Noah to film the behind the scenes, almost
sick.
like Take Confidential esque.
Yeah,
Where it's just iPhone, whatever we're doing, and then we're bringing out another video guy, and I think it's gonna, finish it up. But content push is coming, guys. Jeremy, you can find all his links in the description. Everything for him there. All of our links are there as well. And this is episode 20. We'll see you on 21.
Peace.